Hey, welcome to this edition of the Akashic Show. We're so grateful that you decided to press play. You know, you could be watching anything right now. It is the internet, and there's all kinds of dark forces you could be watching. The internet could be kind of a dark place. You may have noticed. Maybe you've noticed. Maybe you've run into some things in your own. Well, this episode, we're really going to be talking about what do you do when you run into nature's dark force, and what is the existence of that dark force? Is there a dark force? And what about it? How does it serve a purpose? Because my own personal belief is that if it's here, then it serves some kind of purpose. It wasn't just created whimsically. So what is the dark force, and how does it show up? And how does it show up in our planet? And how does it show up in your own life? And most importantly, what do you do? So we're going to be giving you some tools, some strategies, some conversation for you to think about when the dark forces show up in your life. And Emily's going to be giving you an activation today that's going to help protect yourself so that you can move forward and be a warrior of light. So let's get into today's episode. Thank you guys so much. If you're here with us live right now or you're watching the recording, go ahead, hit that like and love button. Send some of those bubbles across the screen. Make sure you share this out with your friends and family, and definitely leave us comments below. We want to hear from you. Let us know where you're tuning in from. Now, if this is the first time that you're ever tuning in with the Akashic Show, thank you so much. Hopefully it's not your first time, but we get it. Somebody's got to learn about it sometime or the other. But maybe you've also been tuning into our boatloads of other episodes and shows here on the Akashic Network. Hopefully you're staying up to date with everything we've got going on. Now, if it is the first time, you may be wondering, well, who exactly are you guys? And if you don't know who's sitting next to me, you should know her. Her name is Emily Harrison. She is the founder and director here at the Akashic Academy. She is helping light workers all over the world certify themselves and understand how to use the Akashic Records. She's holding the space for tremendous growth, big vision, tons of passion. She's a great mom, a great friend, and she's here to tell us a little bit more about herself and the Akashic Records. So, Emily, how's it going today? It's Friday. Welcome to the show, my friend.
It is Friday. I love Fridays. I love Fridays because things slow down a little bit. I get to connect with you. I get to connect with everybody out here. And this is really, truly a space that has been built on the expansion of spirit, of getting reconnected with what it reflections of that essence of love and joy in our life. And yeah, the vision is big because as a collective, we have a big way to go to move back into Christ consciousness, but we're getting there. And the process as we go is so magical because we're learning so much about ourselves. We are creating experiences of joy and expansion. The Akashic Records, of course, allows us to see patterns and shift our lives from a higher perspective. And yes, when I came to you, Coach Nick, I had this big old vision. And as you and I have come to know each other and come to collaborate, your energy in recognizing how to share this vision and not only share our personal messages, but to create space for others to do that as well. And it's really your expansive energy and your vision and understanding the dynamics of how do we do that. Not only are you creating patterns for me to show up, but you're creating patterns for every single person who is ready to step into their dynamic gifts and skills and abilities. And it's all because you've been on the journey yourself. That's what you and I are here doing. We're moving through this process of experiencing life and going through the expansion ourselves. And we're just sharing with you guys what we've experienced, creating paths together, and creating a pretty magical space where we're learning to create the lives. Manipulate our matrix is the term that I like to use a lot. Make your field more malleable. And by hanging out here with us, you guys are raising your frequency so that becomes possible for you. So Coach Nick, thank you for holding that incredible space. Thank you for bringing us the dynamic trainings that you bring us that really help us expand this light.
Oh, well, thank you so much. And thank you to you as well. And something you just said, I was just reflecting upon as you said it. I'm kind of, flipping everybody's comments and trying to give everybody a little bit of screen time. Thanks for all the comments coming in and everybody saying hello and, from all over the world. We appreciate you. But something that you said is like that idea of we're going through this ourselves, and we are. We're seekers like everybody else. We're human like everybody else, and we're learning and we're growing and we're expanding, and we're getting deeper into our own knowledge and practice and understanding of the way this world works, and just sharing that and creating the space for others to share and grow. And I think it's something to be said that when you're doing it with other people, it becomes extra magical, because as Emily, I'm a little bit of a lone wolf in the sense of like, I've done a lot of things, like kind of just, I do my thing, right? Like, it's sort of been my nature even as a kid. My mom even jokes about that. Oh yeah, Nick just goes, he does his thing. Like he does his thing, right? But it's really special to do it with other people and to have people to share with and to expose, because it helps you see the reflections. It helps you see things that you may have not seen before. And there's real power in association. So I really appreciate that. And talking about association, we associate with you guys every single week. And we love you guys so much that we actually spend a little time like to drawing you guys. Okay, that seems creepy, right? That just sounds creepy. If you're the first time watching this, you're like, okay, I don't know about this. Yeah, but you'll totally know what I mean in just a sec. So every single week, you've got the opportunity to be puppetized when you hang out with us by leaving comments below. We like to look at the comments. We like to pick some of our favorite comments or something that stood out to us. So make sure you leave your comments so you get the opportunity to be puppetized. So why don't we start with the puppet show? Emily, why don't you, I'll give you a drum roll and you can go first. I'll get the comment ready. Bam.
Boom. And this, everyone, is Angela Peacock. And Angela's comment had to do with how she used social media to promote her art. And I wanted to give her a little shout out because, I love artists. I feel like so many of us are using art in some form or fashion, whether it is actually painting or drawing or writing stories or having your own show. Whatever way that you are showing up in your life as an artist, I think that it's really important that we all give ourselves permission to let that inner artist shine. For those of you guys who don't know, I haven't talked about this in a while because I haven't done it in a while. Since we moved, I'm no longer my kid's art teacher at school. But every time I would come into a class, I would ask at the beginning of the year, how many of you guys are artists? And the kindergartners would all shoot their hand up first day. Me, yep, I'm an artist. But by the time they got to like 4th or 5th grade, there were only a few kids who raised their hand. So this idea of allowing our inner artists to reemerge and really give that aspect of ourselves space to grow is something that lights me up. I think that's where new things come in our world, is when we move into that zone of creativity. Google does a thing with their employees where 90% of the time you have to show up and do whatever Google hired you to do. But 10% of the time, while you're still on the clock, you can research and explore whatever excites you. And I really want to hold space for that around here. And Angela Peacock, you made me bring my awareness to how important that is. So thank you very much. All right, you ready for a drum roll, Coach Nick?
Totally. Give me the drum roll. Bam. All right, we've got Ginger Lily. I'm limited to the number. Like, your hair is a lot lighter than that. This is my only red. I'm limited to the colors I got here, people. All right, work with me. I am an artist, but this is not my art. This is not my main form of art. But Ginger, thank you so much for the comment last week. You actually put up a comment. We did an activation. Actually, I led the activation last week and I did a breath of fire. So we did some pranayama to get the breath moving. And you said, I followed you, and in trying the fire breathing, I immediately got hot. Then you said, people, you will feel that heat. Woo! I got it right. My palms tingling with Reiki energy. It was fabulous. Thank you. So thank you so much, Ginger Lily, for first of all connecting in, for playing with us, doing it big, participating by doing the breath of fire with us last week. Yes. And then, really seeing that impact that you had and feeling that Reiki. And, the word Reiki means life force, right? And so feeling that life force within you. And when you can feel that life force within you and you're consistently connected to it, then you have tremendous amounts of personal power and knowledge that you can give to others. When I say knowledge, I'm really talking about wisdom, be able to see something and not just take it at face value, but really to be able to see what's underneath it and some of the different elements that are not necessarily seen to the physical eyes, but are seen to the intuitive eyes. So thank you so much for sharing that. All right, guys. So that was our puppet show for this week. let's talk a little bit about Academy news. Emily, you want to share some news with us?
Yeah, let me catch you guys up on some news real fast so we can dive into this topic of resistance and the dark forces. Today, I want to give a special shout out to 3 new students who are diving into the journey of learning to read their Akashic Records. This class is growing so magnificently and profoundly, and it is such an amazing journey. So I'm super excited to welcome Susan Lummel, Dr. Mo Mafona, and Jillian is joining us inside of that amazing class, and so is Carrie Larber. And these are all also members of the Akashic Academy. So congratulations to each one of you. I'm excited to move through this process with you, and I know the other students are excited to welcome you in, because this is a journey of expansion like no other. So I'm very excited to welcome those ladies into this sacred circle. We also have a huge event coming up later today. And I'm stoked about this event because this really it allows you and I to shine in bringing some of our storyteller, artistic, entertainment background to our public here. So many of you guys have messages that you want to share. And by far, the most effective way for you to share that message is to have a show and start building an audience and have that audience start to share your message and really start to pick up on that momentum. You gotta dive in. You gotta start honing what your message is. You gotta start getting comfortable out there in this space. And Coach Nick and I are super excited to bring you guys a training that's really gonna help you feel confident and understand the dynamics behind how you can really get yourself ready. So we have an event. You have to sign up for this event. It's called How to Launch Your Own Online Show That Generates You Income. Okay, that generates you income. By the way, this isn't just about playing around and having fun like Hollywood style, although we're going to have a lot of fun. This is about creating space for you to step more dynamically into abundance, into expansion in all ways. We want you guys to be able to use this to create more freedom in your life so you can spend more time in your own artistic expression, so you can dive more into meditation, so you can create more content for the people who are meant to hang out for you, so you have more freedom in your life, right? So you can take more vacations, so you can go on more retreats, so you can go get your activations. And we're seeing that level of expansion all over the place around here. And it's so much fun to create these opportunities to share our expertise with you guys. So make sure you sign up for that event. Coach Nick will leave the link for you. And if you know somebody, if you want to bring a friend, this is a free event. We are inviting everyone. So feel free to bring your friends, okay?
Awesome. Fantastic. Yeah. If you actually go to the event section on this page, you can get all the information there and sign up. And after the show's done, I will leave the link for you to register in the comments below. So let's dive into this conversation about dark forces. You know, it's an intriguing conversation for me because I come at it from different levels, I guess. Like, you know, kind of first, I always generally come at it from a very kind of skeptical level. I'm very skeptical when people say the dark forces are against us, right? And it's not that I don't acknowledge dark forces. In fact, in the tradition that I practice as a Hare Krishna, as a Bhakti yogi, dark forces are acknowledged. You know, this is not a new concept, that the dark forces, and it is clear to see practically that there are dark forces available here on the planet, right? And it shows up in many ways. It shows up as poverty. It shows up as war. It shows up as theft. In the book Srimad Bhagavatam, where it talks about the history of the world in different ages. So there was the golden age where where human society, we lived a lot longer. In fact, it said in the golden age that human beings would live for 100,000 years. The quality of the air and the atmosphere and the vibration was so good, so pure, that it actually allowed our bodies to sustain life for a lot longer. And it would say that there was war then in the golden age. So even in the golden age, there was war. But the war was between planetary systems. It was generally like one planet versus a next planet. It was like intergalactic type wars. So the idea of like intergalactic travel and wars, that has been around for eons and eons, because in actuality, those things were happening at a more advanced time in the cycles of this earth. Then as we moved into the Silver Age, the wars started to happen. The planet itself started to conflict with itself. So you started to get division of country, rather than having one nation, one unified consciousness, everybody understood we were all brothers and sisters here. We started to divide, oh, my king versus your king, my nation versus your nation. And then we began to fight amongst ourselves, and here became the degradation of our society. And then as time went on, we say that war even got even closer and closer to home, where all of a sudden now the nation was fighting within itself. We began to have civil wars, and we began to have tribes fighting with each other, and we began to have towns and cities fighting with each other. And then we came all the way to our age, which is known as the Kali Yuga, and now the war is within ourselves. We are actually good and evil, light and dark are all found within one person. So no one here in the Kali Yuga is pure goodness, and no one is pure evil, but we actually all have this within ourselves. And so our job is to recognize that the darkness lives, or these dark forces live within us as much as it lives within, sort of the structures of the world. So that's kind of like an idea of the darkness is all around us. It is all around this universe, and it is also within you and me. And I think the first place to recognize when we talk about dark forces, at least in my perspective, is to start looking at the dark forces within and saying, where is it that there is that sort of darkness within us? And I would represent that darkness as simply anything that disconnects us from reality, anything that disconnects us from each other, our selfish tendencies, our greedy tendencies, our tendencies to tell little white lies or to embellish or to, this is actually all darkness showing up within ourselves, trying to puff ourselves up or make ourselves somewhat separate from everybody else. And I think that the more that we can dismantle the darkness within ourselves, then naturally we create a protection around ourselves to deal with the external dark forces, the forces of nations trying to control us, or corporations trying to spray our foods and control us between mindless television or chemicals, or all the different ways that we seem to be suppressed, or we seem to be controlled. The more that we can get in tune with the light within us, then the more actually that light shines brighter than that darkness and begins to transform the globe. A few of my thoughts on the dark forces. What about yourself, Emily?
Oh my goodness. I actually, like, so many thoughts are going through my mind on this. The first thing that I want to say is that I don't experience what I would consider a lot of dark forces. Yes, there is resistance that comes up in me, but I used the term Pollyanna before with Nick. It was in our pre-meeting, and he's like, "What do you mean by that?" And I'm like, "I'm so Pollyanna." Really, one of the biggest resistance that I deal with is like my car breaking down and things like that. Like, my life is pretty smooth and joyful and happy. There are lots of places where I'm examining growth and still like that, merging those shadow essences of myself where my ego comes up. But that's really about the extent of my personal experience with darkness. I do feel like it's here on the planet. I mean, this planet in and of itself is a planet of polarity, which means that we are choosing to come here to learn through that process of light, dark, that contrast. I think we talked about it before. When you're in that state of oneness and unity and there's no contrast, well, when you decide to show up in a contrast zone, the learning gets really dynamic. So one thing that I'll just point out is that just the fact that you're here on this planet, regardless of how you're showing up and experiencing darkness or resistance in your life, you're doing big work by being here. This is not a level 1 for souls to incarnate. This is, while there's still a whole lot left to learn, and we're babies in terms of how much we are learning and expanding, you have a lot of knowledge available inside of you as well. You come here equipped with a lot more than you allow yourself to recognize. Now, I do feel like there's a lot of dark shit going on in our government, in our food, and all of the news that you're going to see filtered through wherever you're tuning into your news. I actually don't tune into the news. And some people scold me for that. And some people applaud me for that. And that's just, to be perfectly honest with you, I don't have the time to tune into the news. In my spare time, I usually meditate and brush my teeth and hang out with my kids. That's the nature of how my life has been arranged. So maybe that explains why I'm not encountering a lot of this energy. But I do acknowledge that it's there. And I also acknowledge that there are certain people who feel called to illuminate that energy in whatever way they feel called to experience that. I personally don't feel like fighting anybody in any level of resistance. I feel like just kind of staying in my own lane and working within myself right now. And what you said, Coach Nick, about that, like this actually being the age of where we are dealing with that within ourselves, honestly gives me more permission to stand in my power and do it, because part of me, just a teeny little part, says, oh, that's selfish. You should really be more tuning into these things. But then, you know what? I'm showing up here in service to every person who wants to expand and grow their consciousness. So I'm going to call bullshit on myself right now. I'm not going to give in to that part. You know, I just want to say, breathe into the resistance. Let that resistance go. I also feel like there is, on an energetic level, there are certain agendas. There are, like, the reptilians get such a bad rap for being the ones who distorted the DNA and jacked us all up, made us all these, these ego-driven beings. I also feel like that is another level of ascension. And when we go through that process, we learn. I think that probably many of us who have incarnated and who are showing up now have incarnated in some aspect of a reptilian reality too. Here's the other thing. So many light workers assume the victim role from their past life. Like, I got burned at the stake as a witch. Well, you know what? You probably played the role as the person who sent you to the guillotine as well. You know what I mean? You probably played the Napoleon and the Hitler. You probably played the bad guy somewhere along the way too. So one aspect that has come into my awareness recently in terms of that etheric battle of darkness is maybe we as light workers can understand that we've played those roles as well. And maybe when we move back into healing those and adding light to those aspects of ourselves, maybe we start to merge more of this darkness. I believe there are spiritual warriors out there who are, in their way that they've been called, transmuting that energy. I believe that if you are doing any kind of transmuting of resistance within yourself, you are aiding that bigger mission across the galaxy, anywhere there is that light or dark energy playing out. And I think it can be easier than we make it, to be perfectly honest with you. I want to do an activation for you guys today that will make this whole process easier. And it's really just about learning to relax, raise your vibration, and breathe into resistance. If darkness is showing up for you, there's something for you to learn there, says Miss Pollyanna. And I think when I began to stop applying my own resistance to any situation that came up in my life, and what I mean by that is to create the space between my thoughts and my emotions, which created my reaction to something. When I was able to create space in that processing for myself, I was able to recognize that I had a choice not to put up resistance, but, you go back to martial arts and you just like allow that energy to flow in a different way. And there's so many opportunities if you learn to, and the Akashic Records is similar, and learn about asking the right questions. But when you get that space, and if you learn to say, okay, what is here for me that can help me expand, and I can learn from this, and you figure that out and you let it flow through you, and you do that enough times, you create that as a pattern in your life enough times, what you start to experience in your everyday reality will shift and change. If you are experiencing resistance in your life right now, I want to guide us through some synchronized breathing. I miss synchronized breathing. I haven't done it even once this week. My mom was visiting and she's like, Em, are you going to do synchronized breathing? I'm like, I know, I have to do synchronized breathing. So for all of you guys who have missed synchronized breathing like I have, this is such a sacred and powerful process. Our breath is a sacred technology that we can use to effortlessly create space. Now, I'm not necessarily saying that resistance or that density is just going to go away, because truthfully, without your examination and understanding of it, you don't want it to go away because it's just going to show up again in some other form or fashion. Okay.
Well, and I think that acknowledges the fact that we attract still. So if you're receiving darkness or resistance, then you have to see how it is that you're bringing that into your experience.
It's a reflection of somewhere in yourself where there's a density or there's a resistance. It's as easy as setting the intention to create space in that and have expanded awareness so that you can understand it. And that's what allows you to transmute the resistance. Okay, so I want you guys to, if you have an actual thing in your mind, okay, where resistance is coming up for you, a situation, a timeline that you're on that's presenting you resistance, I want you to call that up right now. Okay, if you don't have any specific resistance that you can think of right now, because some people, they start to get all blocked up when we start to tap in. If you're feeling like nothing's coming to mind, but your life isn't what you want it to be, it isn't a peaceful and joyful experience, then there's resistance somewhere. I want you to just allow yourself to imagine it showing up as a dense spot somewhere in your body, somewhere in your energy field. Okay, so regardless of if you're holding that as a visual density somewhere, or if you're holding that as an actual thought in your mind, I want you to just go ahead and call that up in your energy field and close your eyes and set the intention now that we're going to move into a higher realm of consciousness where we can move energy, we can create some space. And we're specifically going to work to create space in this area of resistance, wherever it's coming up. So maybe you feel something coming into your awareness in your body, a density somewhere. Maybe you have a couple of things coming up for you. Just allow whatever's coming up right now, holding that in your awareness. And I want you to acknowledge your own ability to alchemize energy. That means move and shift energy, to raise your consciousness, to heal yourself. And I want you to focus on that crystalline tube of light running up and down your spine. And to help support us in this process, we're going to sink that crystalline tube energy down into Mother Earth. And I send mine all the way down into the crystalline core center of Mother Earth. And then you're going to want to anchor that crystalline tube of light out the top of your head and move it all the way up through all aspects of our universe and cosmos as we know it, and anchor it into the space of source, ether, whatever that God, oneness, unconditional love energy is for you. And pull that energy down, pulling that Mother Earth energy up that tube. And setting the intention now that as we all breathe together, we are creating space, not only in our own individual areas of resistance, but we're also holding that space for each other in a loving community. That the awareness and the space that each one of us need to learn to transmute the resistance be available to each one of us. We're going to do 7 nice synchronized breaths together. So everybody, nice deep breath in. And I want you to do a gentle pause at the top. And a nice slow exhale. And find what feels comfortable to you. It doesn't matter if it's through your nose or your mouth. Nice deep breath in. Get big, expand with that breath. Gentle pause at the top. And exhaling. And don't rush your exhale. Allow it just to bring you very present to this moment. Good job. Nice deep breath in. Creating space within any aspect of resistance that's coming up for us, whether it's known or unknown, and exhaling. Good, nice deep breath in. And pausing at the top of your breath, fully expanding your lungs, getting very big, creating space, exhaling. Nice and slow exhale. Good, breathing in the light, deep breath in. Breathing light from the Akash, from Mother Earth, into any resistance that's coming up for you, and exhaling. Good job. Breathe in the energy of the Akash and Mother Earth again. And pausing at the top, integrating, holding these higher frequencies now that we're purposefully calling them in to assist us, and exhaling. Good. Deep breath, calling in that energy again. As we're calling in this Mother Earth energy and this Akash energy so purposefully, it's expanding how much energy you can hold in your day-to-day life. Exhale, how much joy, how much support, how much unconditional love, how much awareness. Good, nice deep breath in. Pausing at the top. I have no idea if this is 6 or 7. Do you go to the exhale?
No idea.
No clue. All right, let's do one more, just for good measure. Let's do this one as an integration. Stabilizing and integrating these higher frequencies. Deep breath in. Slow deep breath in. Pausing at the top. And a nice relaxed exhale. Let your body relax. We just did a lot of work there. I can feel a lot of energy moving. Good job. Slowly start just to wiggle your fingers and toes. Move your neck around a little bit. Come on back nice and slow. And this is something that you can use to access space, light, and higher levels of awareness. Anytime you recognize that you're clenching, anytime that you're getting tight, anytime that resistance is like a tension in your muscles and your body and your emotions and your thoughts, just breathe into it and just create some space. Hello, John Stewart.
So thank you guys, everybody, for joining us. One of the ways, the more, remember that in the subtle body, meaning your consciousness, right? Your subtle body takes the soul to its experience, and then you experience it in some time-space reality. So the more that you shift your consciousness to a loving, prosperous, peaceful consciousness, then that is what you actually experience. So darkness is only invited in by darkness within our own being. And in that way, we all have the ability to experience less darkness and more light by working in our inner world. Many of us, our consciousnesses are so occupied with the material world or the outside reflection that we forget that it's all coming from within us. It's all coming through us. So if you take your consciousness and keep your consciousness within yourself and start to work out through forgiveness, through shadow work within the consciousness of yourself, then less and less resistance will show up for you.
I just have to share because it's coming in. Darkness is a tool that helps us learn to understand and expand the light more dynamically. Its purpose isn't for us to resist or battle it. It's a teacher. It's a tool. It's how this level of reality works. And when you learn to see it that way, your level of reality becomes something different than when you were in that space of resistance.
That's right. Love it.
When your perception was that you have to resist that or break it down or any of that, it's a different dimension.
That's right. Yeah. Love it. Oftentimes people who protest things through their consciousness are actually just adding to it.
Well,
when we're fighting something, we're actually bringing our consciousness to that thing, and we're actually fueling it unknowingly. So oftentimes we don't have to fight what is there. We have to put our consciousness to creating new. It's not about fighting the old or fighting the system, or it's about creating something brand new.
Yeah, and
that's how we move into the rebirth.
Because darkness or resistance or whatever has a density to it, it triggers the density within you, and then you start to blame it on that situation. But really, it's just triggering that in you because that's its energy frequency.
That's right.
If you don't want disturbance like that, come hang out at the Akashic Academy where we're all singing Kumbaya together.
We're all Pollyanna is my new word that I've learned today. Awesome. Well, thank you everybody for tuning in. So many of us tuned in live. So appreciate it. Hit that like and love button. Make sure you share this out with your friends and family. Join us for tonight's training, of course. And stay tuned. We've got
Brad Johnson coming up. Brad Johnson coming up at 11 a.m. Pacific time with the expansion point. And we got the feng shui lady, Laura Carrillo, coming in tonight for her show. Is so fun too. She's got Barbies now, guys, feng shui Barbies that are so friggin' fun. So check her out at 5 p.m. Pacific right here at the Akashic Academy Network, baby.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. We'll see you next week.